What's going on? What's going on, everybody? It is Devon Johnson and Chaz Pearson here for the post-game show. Obviously not the ending and the result that we wanted, but yet we are here again. Lakers fall to the Portland Trail Blazers at home, 115-107. Plenty of things to talk about tonight. Chaz, talk to me, man. How are you feeling? Where are you at?
Just disappointed in the way that the guys went out tonight. Didn't seem like they were real focused at all. AD walked through the entire game. LeBron looked disinterested at times in terms of his help defense and stepping up on some pick and rolls and being and helping the helper in certain situations. Because Montrez was just getting brought out on those pick and rolls, and he has to step up because Dame Lillard's going to pull from 30. So you got to help the helper. And I just didn't see that happening. So a lot of times that was LeBron. But really the story is Gary Trent Jr. in that third quarter. I mean, he got absolutely hot. And I owe a personal apology to Alex Caruso. I shouldn't have said that THT is going to take his minutes, because tonight would be a night where I wish Caruso was guarding. Even though he still would probably have gotten lit up as well by Gary Trent. It would have looked better. I would have felt better if it was Caruso instead of THT, because THT was just, I mean, you can't help off of a guy that makes 3 straight threes. Just let him get that layup then at that point. Yeah. You can't help off of, and that's what he just kept doing on 3 straight possessions. So that's really the story of the game. I don't think somewhere hidden in there they're going to talk about Kuzma some way, somehow, because he didn't have the exact same kind of game like he did last night. But to be honest, I think Gary Trent Jr. is the story of the game, and bad AD. Like, when AD plays bad, I almost rather AD not play at all and have an engaged, more focused team than AD to come out the way that he did. He just looked disinterested.
Yeah.
And he didn't even play last night, and we won by 30, albeit against a much worse team. Portland's are definitely going to be a top 5-6 seed in the Western Conference this year, assuming health. But just that's what I'm disappointed with. We know that these early losses are going to come. They'll pile up. But, the lack of defensive assignments being missed and looking disinterested and just being and sleepwalking throughout the first half or the first 3 quarters, in fact the whole game, that's, to me, that's unacceptable. So whether it's come the second out of a back-to-back, or I don't want to hear all that personally. I mean, this is the 4th game of the season, and you get paid millions of dollars to be able to get yourself up and get ready. So didn't have it tonight, whatever. Okay, cool. Good thing about this season is that we're playing literally every other day for the most part. So
for real.
Wednesday, Friday, Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, you get a pretty quick turnaround and a really good chance to get it back quickly. So I feel sorry for San Antonio.
Yeah, because they're going to bounce back for real. And I really want to deal with AD struggles, man. I mean, obviously he had, a little bit of an issue with last game, of course, having to sit out. And it didn't seem like tonight was too much about health, but like you said, it was a lot about how engaged he was. And what really struck me was he was about 24 minutes in and only scored about 4 points or something like that, which is bananas. He ended up scoring 13 points, but it was too little too late, throwing on those points towards the end. It would have been nice to have that aggressive AD going down low in the beginning. And what you are starting to see is you're starting to see how the rotations are kind of filling out a little bit. I think one of the biggest things that we're going to have to address, and I didn't make this a point tonight, is Wesley Matthews.
He's going to fall out of the rotation quick.
Yeah, and this was one of those nights where I know it sounds crazy. I'm going to say it again. I would have said, let's just throw McKinney in and just see what the energy does. He's probably going to get cooked on defense, but just his energy alone could affect. And it just and it's not like that Wesley Matthews isn't trying, but he has not found his space. And come February, March, it's very possible you can see that man all the way out of the rotation completely. So there were some bright parts tonight, and this is the part that I'm excited about. Your boy Dennis Schroeder. He showed himself worthy tonight. He did his part, 24 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. He was aggressive. He attacked. He obviously had some lapses on defense, but he was hounding as much as he could on Damian Lillard. And I liked what I saw. I don't know if you can consider this a bright spot, but I think this is the Schroeder that we can look forward to for the rest of the season.
Yeah, he's going to get a $60 to $70 million contract. I see him getting like a 3-year, 4-year, 60, 85, $90 million deal from us. So we're already starting those negotiations. He rejected the 2-year, $33 million offer because he can get more than that. So, I think February 16th is the where he.
You cut out a little bit. You there? Oh, you're still muted. Your audio was gone. I think your audio was gone. I can see you, but we can't hear you at all. Your audio just phased out. Let me see if we can get him back. Chats, can you hear me? I don't think Chats can hear us, so I'm gonna go ahead. Chats, can you hear us? Yeah, he's on the way out. So listen, I think what we're seeing out of Dennis Schroeder was intensely amazing, man. For me, it's good to see a point guard who's able to do that. Hey, our boy is back. Let me get him back in here. Let me see here. You back?
Back.
Okay. Yeah, and I was just saying, for me, what I loved about seeing Dennis Schroeder playing was I can't remember the last time I saw a point guard who can do what he does for the Lakers. I'm thinking back Nick Van Exel days, who had a really aggressive point guard. But, Derek Fisher obviously wasn't that. Even Rondo really wasn't able to do some of the things that Schroeder is doing just because of age and difference. And, of course, Schroeder is just really great from the mid-range, which is something that Rondo really is not. And so watching that tonight made me go, man, if we can get our defense up to where it was last year, combined with that point guard play, we're scary for the next several years.
Yeah. There's just a lot of times where he was a little bit erratic and throwing some stuff up, and that's, I don't like that he doesn't get too out of control for too many plays in a row, but
yeah,
I'd like to see him in a little bit more control. But hey, he had some really bright spots tonight. If AD was just AD tonight, we win this game, and I'm at this point, to be honest with you, like, I don't want to harp on AD too much, but I feel like I'm saying that I think I've said it too many times, where I feel like AD just has to be AD and we win the game. Like, there's been too many times. So, I don't want to harp on it too much, but it's just something I want to throw out there to people, because it's more so about him than anything, in my opinion. That's the story of the game. Gary Trent Jr. got hot. Dame's going to do his thing. LeBron did his thing. Schroeder did his thing. Kuzma obviously didn't play well. I mean, I think he was the worst on the team in a minus 23 in 23 minutes. But that's the thing. Like, Kuz just has to play better in better spots and for a longer period of time. Like Montrez, I don't think Montrez should have stayed in the game as long as he did. Like, to sub out Montrez with 83 seconds left to go in the game, I think that's part bad coaching as well. Like, Vogel can't do that. You got to be able to recognize, okay, I get it. You didn't want to give up as many points, but you got to know that Damian Lillard is bringing Montrez out on those pick and rolls and was either stopping and popping or picking and rolling to Nurkic and
going low. Yeah.
Right. So you have to offset and combat that with something, either something defensively making a switch or putting in some offensive firepower. And you just waited too late to do the latter, which is putting the offensive firepower in. And Kuzma didn't see another bucket after that. So.
And this is one of those things, and this is not to harp on last year, but last year was literally 2 months ago. But But last year, this is one of those places where Dwight came in and was just a different kind of reinforcer. So he already knew he wasn't going out to the perimeter. He would stay home, and he would just be a punisher in the paint, full of energy. And Montrez is still full of energy. Somebody actually made a comment in the chat. Groovenall said that on Twitch said that he didn't think Montrez played well either. I don't think so either, man. It was one of those games where it didn't seem like the bench really had it together. But 9 points in 27 minutes, like you said, that's a long time. But when you look at the rest of the point production, you have Wes Matthews, you got Taylor Horton-Tucker, and I almost feel like the rotations would have been different had Caruso been in there. But I'll go back even further. I did not expect LeBron to play and AD to play. I expected one of them to sit out.
LeBron gave you 30 tonight. 30 and 9 and 6. 29, 9 and 6 in 36 minutes. Shot over 50% from the field. Shot over 35% from the three-point line. Went 80% from the line. I mean, there's a reason why he's one of the greatest players. For real. And on a bum ankle.
On a bum ankle. This is what I want to point out. This is something I was telling you earlier. When you think about the actual game itself, it looked way worse than it actually was. When you look at the stat-wise, we shot a higher field goal percentage. And that's with us shooting almost the same amount of shots as they did. We shot a higher three-point percentage, which sounds crazy, but they shot 46 threes tonight. And they only made 16, with majority of those coming from Gary Trent Jr. So you're really talking about what you saw tonight is an anomaly. Gary Trent Jr. is not going to do that in a 7-game series. He's just not. And AD is not going to score 13 points in a full game. So
yeah.
But everything else you saw, Schroeder can really kind of regularly give you about 20 to 24. LeBron's going to give you 25 to 30, and he really probably could have done more had he really been more interested tonight. And everybody else, man, can kind of fall into place. What we saw last game is the ceiling. I think that's really what you're looking at when we're maximizing our potential, scoring 130-something points, 120-something points, and nobody scores over 20 points individually. That is the ceiling for this team if they're all clicking. What you're seeing tonight is about where they're going to regress to the mean when they're having a bad night. LeBron's going to do him. If AD is off, then what we're seeing is if AD is off and the bench does not pick up, then you're going to have issues. And this is one of the reasons why so many teams or so many people were looking for Schroeder to come off the bench, because what he did in his minutes that he was starting, if he would have had that off the bench, it would have been a little bit of a different story. But listen, the man played 36 minutes. He almost played the whole entire game. So it really doesn't matter as much on that. But the game wasn't as bad as I think as it felt. It just felt bad because we know we could have won that.
Right. Well, you number one, it's playing down the competition, for one, because you came out and punched him in the mouth to start the game. I'd like to see more from KCP as well.
He was hot in the beginning.
Yeah, I feel like I'm not seeing enough from him, or maybe in spot minutes. I'm not sure, but I feel like that's somebody that we need to get a little bit more involved and a few more looks as well. And this can happen when you have so many different weapons on the team. But those Gary Trent Jr. minutes, I mean, we lost by 8 points. That's 2 or 3 of the threes that he was hitting in that 3-minute span. So there's that. And then, like I said, again, AD. And again, there's nothing on the team stats list that glares out to me or that's blaring or anything like that. It's just that we have 5 more turnovers than them. Everything else was pretty much evenly matched, even the field goal percentage and the 3-point percentage as well. So I can't be too mad at that. Just situationally in certain spots and areas, we just could have been better, and that's just the difference. And you learn from it. You move on. The regular season is just rehearsal for the big dance coming in June this year.
Hopefully, man. Hopefully, as long as doesn't go crazy. Yeah, man. And just to kind of put in perspective, once again, if AD just scores 10 more points, that's and it's not like we're asking him. That's his norm. 23, 25, somewhere in there.
8 more points.
8 more points. Yeah, really 8 more points. But I'm saying just if he would have gave us 23 instead of 13, it would have been fine, and we still would have been upset about the game because it shouldn't have been even as close as that. Given the potential of this team. Some of these comments here, Groovenall on, I want to say it's Groove Vinyl, but I feel like he spelled it differently on Twitch. It seems as if everyone that Kuzma guards gets a lot of threes. y'all, y'all
Yeah,
are
I mean,
funny, man.
hey, he just it's the truth.
It,
You got to laugh at it, but it's just the truth. He like for whatever reason his closeouts just people just drop buckets on Kuz like from outside. Maybe I mean he's his effort. He's trying a lot harder on the defensive end, but yeah. Between I saw a tweet that said Mike. I think it was Kendrick Perkins that said um, Michael Porter Jr. and Kyle Kuzma give up the most buckets. So it's just part of NBA Twitter, part of reputations and stuff like that. We'll get it back. We
yeah.
were just praising. We were just praising Kuz last night. 24 hours later, we're talking about how
Oh.
inconsistent he is. So
Oh, here we
I'm
go. Now we getting good.
don't worry
Okay,
about it.
so some of these comments, I can't wait to read these to you. But I'm gonna all black everything. This was just one of those losses, Lakers for the Lakers. AD should have maybe sat out, but it's all good. That's a good comment. But Ariel Marcelli on Periscope. I hope I'm saying this right, Ariel. THT defense been terrible. He's been overhyped. He needs to continue to develop. Um, I'll say this. Terrible might be a stretch. Okay, terrible might be a stretch. It's not that his defense is terrible as much as it is that he doesn't understand defense as well as he should on this level. I think what you pointed out, him not sticking to the man, trying to help on help D, that's just him still in college ball mode. In the NBA, you just got to know where the hot man is and trust your teammates, and he's not used to trusting teammates apparently.
You got to know who you're guarding, know your personnel, know who you're guarding. What you know the scout. You got to know the scouting report. That the game is up here, and I'm not saying he doesn't have it, but it was just obvious tonight that like in real time while Gary Trent Jr. is knocking down threes. Like when he knocked down the first one, okay. When he knocked down the second one and he fell at the top of the key, okay. That third one in the corner or on the right wing,
Yeah,
I almost blew my top at that point because,
you just letting him cook.
and I'm sure Vogel did too because guess what? We didn't see THT for the rest of the game,
Nope,
and rightfully so.
nope.
So
And you
hopefully that sends a message. Hopefully in the film room in the film session that we have tomorrow morning, they get killed, and we fly to San Antonio. We have a good shoot around. We stay safe. We mask up, and we get a W or two, and come back.
and that's real talk. I think that is the scenario that we're looking at, and that's going to be part of his development. Thank you for that comment, Ariel. That's very true. That he does need to develop, and the development is going to come in this. And this is probably one of those spaces where we're missing Rondo. So just another guard who's able to pull him to the side and be like, if you don't stop doing that, I'm gonna make sure coach never puts you back in.
We
Rondo
just
says
really
space and
miss
stuff like that.
we just really miss Caruso's discipline on the defensive end. There's a lot of things that wouldn't have happened if we just had Caruso in because he's just so disciplined in his approach to the game. He's conservative. He doesn't take too many risks. He's solid. I apologize again profusely for even entertaining the thought that THT could take Caruso's minutes. So my apologies.
Hey, listen, man. Listen, I understand. They not only miss Howard's physical play and shot blocking, but they miss him barking out defensive assignments. Yeah, and to be honest, Dwight wasn't doing as much barking about defensive assignments as much as Rondo was and Braun was. Dwight was just really just doing more talking of reinforcing what the plan was already discussed. It wasn't like his defensive IQ was not as super high as people think. That wasn't his strength.
I already told you about backup five.
That's all we
Portland,
need.
Portland, Philly, uh, the Bucks.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
these teams that have Jokic, the Nuggets, like when you go against these teams that have these larger fives and AD sleepwalking, like it's gonna be real tough. You're
scary
gonna
thought.
you're gonna get beat more than likely because AD is if AD sleepwalking, Trez is just too small and Marcus All is just too old, and you don't have a Dwight or a JaVale or at least not JaVale, but a Dwight to match up with somebody like Nurkic, Embiid, Jokic, a big five man like that, or at least a body to bang around with him that's athletic enough to give him some trouble. You're gonna have a long night, and we are thin at backup five. And I'm gonna say it again: I can't wait for the buyout market because we need
Come
some
back and
meat
find.
on the interior badly, just to throw another body out there. If not, if nothing, to just get another 5 or 6 fouls to just
Heck
prevent
yeah.
easy layups and just put some muscle on somebody. I thought that person might be Kaycock, but Kaycock not even on the bench. So
That's real talk, man. Here's something that Vogel said in his interview. He said he credits Caruso as normally one of the most vocal Lakers, even when he's not playing. We certainly missed his energy tonight, and that's good to hear. That's good to hear
big
because
time.
big time, big time, big. They out here talking about your Wi-Fi. Chaz needs to upgrade his Wi-Fi every night, man. Upgrade your Wi-Fi. It's not his Wi-Fi, man. It's just the connection goes in and out. It could happen to me, to be honest. So y'all cross your fingers. AD is going to go off against the Spurs. Okay, now it's time for my favorite part. It's time for the Trust the Prophet segment. This is my favorite part, man, because every time he talks about these next segments or these next parts of the Lakers season, it always comes true. So now, AD had a bad showing. He's sluggish. Let's just forecast until tomorrow. They're going to eat him alive. They're going to hold him accountable. What do we anticipate against the Spurs for both games? Not just the first one, but for both.
24, 12, and 6 average, if not more. He'll just be back to his normal self and he'll be re-engaged. We're going to be on the road in a hot, in a non-hostile environment, but just a different environment. And I expect him to be locked in. And I expect I expect LeBron to probably sit one of these two. Are these no? These aren't back to back. So there is
I
a
don't.
day of rest in between the games.
There is.
Um, so actually, no, I wouldn't expect LeBron to sit, assuming he doesn't get hurt again or anything like that. But I expect AD to be at least be AD. I don't know why he struggled tonight, what the deal was, but um, it is what it is. Man, to
What
only have 13 points in 37 minutes is
is crazy, right? That's crazy.
man.
He only have 4 points in 24. Okay, so here's my only question in the middle of that. New Year's Eve happens in the middle of their stay in San Antonio. They play at you're out here Texas time, 7 o'clock on the first on New Year's Day. Does that affect the energy in any way?
What time do they play?
7 o'clock my time, so 5 o'clock Pacific Standard. So they'll be out here in Texas with me.
They ain't doing nothing out there in San Antonio.
San Antonio's the worst. But only reason why I say that is because one of the things they brought up, and Vogel has talked about this, is, and obviously California's on lockdown in general, but they cannot do their normal sessions the way that they normally do it. They have to do
No.
things by Zoom. That's another thing to think about. Like they're not in the film room, quote unquote. So a lot of these sessions are happening not face to face. They're happening on
Well, that's
Zoom.
that's a lot of that's in California because you can't meet with a certain amount of people, but in Texas you can meet with more people. So we'll see how it goes while they're there. Um, but they're not breaking protocol or anything like that. So
But
I'm not too worried about the time or anything
but
like
I'm
that.
saying out here in Texas, we have no restrictions. I can
Right.
go
I
wherever I
mean,
want, whenever I want. And New Year's Eve gonna be popping out here. So
yeah, you can because you didn't sign an NBA contract.
that's
Anthony
true.
Davis did.
That's true.
So he
That's
can't.
true. I just don't want them to stay up so late on New Year's Eve that they throw their
No.
whole rhythm off on the next day.
There's nothing to do. You can't call any girls. You just with the boys. You just practice, had shoot around earlier in the day. It I don't expect them to have any kind of letdown or hangover or anything like that.
The probably Madden tournament.
They'll be ready. Yeah, exactly. Just Madden tournament, maybe some spades, maybe some FaceTime with your girl or whoever, your boys,
Yeah.
your kids, whatever, and that's it.
Justin Silver says this: There's no one on the Blazers roster that Trez is super useful against. Kind of an odd matchup for him.
Very odd matchup.
It
Great point.
is.
Who said that?
Justin, our boy Justin. Justin, one of
Hey,
our writers, man.
hey, Justin, put that in the article when you write tonight or tomorrow.
Yeah.
Next time you drop.
Yeah.
Because Trez, that was just a bad matchup. There was nobody. Yeah, you right about that. There was nobody that I felt that he just had a good matchup against defensively or offensively for that matter. And Derrick Jones Jr. was hunting LeBron stuff on the block. I mean, I saw I saw a couple big blocks. So
He was
I mean,
mad at
they
him.
just yeah they wanted it, and I'm sure that they sensed that LeBron and AD just weren't all in. Like LeBron clearly, we're seeing him coast at the highest clip that we've ever seen, and he still looks great. But like we went from seeing postseason finals game 6 LeBron to seeing game 4 of the regular season LeBron in a span of 8 weeks, pretty much.
A
Like
complete turnover.
right, or in the span of 10 weeks. So we know what he's capable of, and to see what we saw tonight, I mean, if you're an NBA player and you're sensing exactly what I just said, I'd be waiting to beat his stuff off the backboard too. So it is what it is.
And let me tell you why other teams should be afraid. As crazy as this sounds, Portland gave it their all tonight, and I take nothing away from them. I'm even thinking, man, if they would have had Melo, we really would have been in another zone, right? But
I don't even think they played great tonight, to be honest with you.
they didn't, but they played with energy. You could tell that it meant something to them. LeBron lost this game, and within 5 seconds of that horn, he's laughing and joking going down the hallway, as if he was just leaving warm-ups. If LeBron's putting up 29 and he hasn't even really cared yet, I'm terrified for the rest of the league post All-Star break. In fact, somebody says that. Kevin Angelis on YouTube says Lakers are playing possum until after the All-Star break. I don't know about possum, but I will say whatever's going to activate in these next couple months is going to be crazy, because what they're doing right now, you could tell it's not as important as it was in the bubble right now.
I just need a top 3 seed consistently throughout the season. That's it.
That's really it. And I think staying healthy,
And health. Yep.
Yeah.
Top 3 seed and health. That's it.
That's it. If we
Outside
have
of outside of that, I could care less about everything else, because by that time, the universe tends to unfold as it should, and it will again this year.
Luke Sevier, and Groove. I see you, man. Groove. I think it says Groove in AI or Groove in yeah. I think it says Groove in AI. I think, or AL. Maybe Alabama. Groove in Alabama. Maybe that's what it is. Luke Sevier says, when are we going to bring up AD being so inconsistent? Is inconsistent a word that you would use for Anthony Davis?
I wouldn't say inconsistent, let's just say, like I said earlier in the show, I just feel like I'm saying too often, if AD was just AD, we win the game. I've said that 5 more times, 10 more times than I've wanted to since January 15th of last year when we got him. Like, I'm just saying it a little bit more often than I thought that I would. So it is what it is. But I'm not going to say that he's inconsistent, because he can do so many great things. He hit the first shot of the night, and I was like, okay, here we go. Bron with the next 7 and 9 points, punched it with the breakaway jam. And then from there, Portland just came out and just
went for it.
Whopped us in the mouth multiple times over. And we had no response.
And you mentioned this on the last post game, that traditionally AD cooks the Blazers. This is normally a team where he mows them down, man. Nurkic the whole 9. And tonight he just didn't do it. Now help me, because I missed this. Is Hassan Whiteside no longer on the Blazers? I missed that.
Hassan Whiteside is on the Sacramento Kings.
That's what I thought. Okay, so that was one of the changes from last year, right? Because wasn't he on there last year?
He was, but
okay.
Yeah, he's terrible.
He is. Ant-Man, Hawks fan here. Rondo had a nice game for us. Yeah, Rondo's doing his thing, man. Good to see his squad balling out.
I saw him hit a big 3.
Come on, man. Yeah. Playoff Rondo's still in effect, bro. He'll always get love from me, man. Should Lakers sign, this is the same guy, Ant-Man on Periscope, should Lakers sign Trevor Ariza or Dwayne Dedmon? We've beat this with a dead horse, but no to Trevor Ariza on multiple fronts. But the last thing they need, I think personally, you can correct me, I don't think Trevor Ariza is the need right now.
No. If he's available and we can't get anybody else that we actually really do need, then yeah, just an extra wing defender, somebody with length to defend somebody late in the playoffs that has playoff experience and has tested championship experience, and a former Laker. Not bad at it, but Dwayne Dedmon, I'm never going to get on that bandwagon.
You really don't like this dude for some reason.
Esteemed, I'm never going to get on it. It's okay. It's just my opinion.
Hold on. Let me look it up.
And Chris Camillo, my esteemed co-host on the Showtime Forum podcast, and yourself and everybody else in our Lakers Slack and everybody else that's listening to this post-game show. I do not want Dwayne Dedmon on this team.
I've never
That's
seen
that.
you as animate about not having a player as you've been about Dwayne Dedmon. And I'm speaking from just in the Slack.
Yeah.
Forget what you're saying right now. Just in the Slack, you have been like, no. I don't understand why. I mean, listen, he's 6 rebounds. He's averaging 6 rebounds, 6 points. Is that not a good body to use? He's from LA. Graduated USC.
I know, but he doesn't have the girth to bang around with Joel Embiid and Jokic and Nurkic, does he? Do you think so?
No, he doesn't. He doesn't.
Okay, that's the only reason why we need a backup 5. For anything else other than that, or if Marc Gasol goes out for an extended period of time, those are the only 2 reasons why we need a backup 5. For those specific, outside of that, you got Trez. Because everybody else plays small. For the most part.
Okay. I'm with it.
AD played like Roy Hibbert tonight.
Oh, don't use these words. Don't use these words.
It's the truth. And whoever's hype man, go ahead and post that on the tweet. Chaz said that AD played like Roy Hibbert, Indiana 2013 Roy Hibbert tonight.
Oh God, man.
Maybe you'll see it. And maybe he'll put up a 50 burger tomorrow.
Dudley gonna say something bad. Dudley gonna say something.
It is what it is, dog.
Hey, listen. I can't even get mad at you, bro. I have a question. Now I'm trying to think about potential centers, right? And let me just say this real quick. 2 things. All Black Everything says, let's be honest, no one's beating us in 7 games. We completely agree. And then he says, does a seed really matter? And that's a good question to ask in the Western Conference right now. You said top 3 seed is something that we need to stay in, but how bad is it if we don't get the top 3?
It's just a better matchup. You don't want to fall to 4 and 5 because then you face the number 1 seed, whoever that may be. You know?
Yeah.
Even if you do, let's say you fall to 4 and you have to play the 5 seed, who's just as good as you, right? So you get the worst matchup, and then right after that series, you got to run into the number 1 seed.
Yeah, so that is yeah, I see what you're saying. That is a tougher way to
go. So this year, I think either Denver or the Clippers might have it. If we don't have it, it's either going to be Denver or the Clippers, right? So imagine, let's say it's Denver, right? And then you fall to 4, and let's say Portland and the Lakers. Let's say you got to play Portland again in the first round, and right after that, you got to play Denver again.
Wow.
But
yeah,
before you even get to the Western Conference Finals or the finals, like that's
a lot.
I'd rather see, I don't know, Houston or OKC or or Phoenix or just somebody like that.
True.
I'm not saying that they're not tough teams, but seeding does matter. It does, and it's one more game at home potentially, regardless of if there's fans or not. It's one less day on a plane, one less day in a hotel, one less day having to sleep somewhere foreign and being out of your routine. So.
Now I want to get to that, and there's a few more comments. I want to get to that too. I think their attitude towards that is going to be a little bit different now after that experience in the bubble. I think the way they approach sleeping away from home is gonna feel different, knowing that there was one time they got on a plane and didn't come home for 2 months, as opposed to going here for 3 days.
Great point.
It's still gonna catch up to them because they're playing every other night. Like, I don't think people understand like how accelerated the first half of this season really is to get back on track. That's crazy when you think about it. Like, and especially with the Lakers, who don't have opportunities to meet in person as much as they'd like to. Most of this stuff is just conceptual till they get on the court. They get on the court and they figure out a lot of that stuff. So I think they're going to adjust. But what you just said was right. By the time you get to the playoffs, though, you really want to be able to like lock in your seeding. I'm assuming home court advantage is going to matter this year. It didn't last year, but I'm assuming it matters this year.
It'll. I think it'll matter ultimately.
I hope so.
It, if anything, for matchups and to be able to just have an extra game at home on your own floor, sleeping in your own bed. It's just gonna that stuff matters. It just does.
I'm just hoping they don't go to a bubble.
How
That's my
much?
only hope.
How much does it matter? I don't know. It depends. It just depends on where things are at that time. Let's say if cases are still surging like it is now, but I have a hard time thinking that 8 months from now, which is when the finals are, that
Wow.
with all these new vaccines being out and with cases surging as they are, that things are going to be just as bad as they are now as they were 8 minutes ago or 8 months ago. But then again, I did think in April, I'm like, oh man, we might be done with this by Christmas, and here we are, Christmas,
Surgeon.
and we still talking about stimulus checks and
Yep.
shutdowns and whatnot. So I just corrected myself literally mid thought.
Pepper Potts on Periscope. Just letting you guys know I can listen to you all talk basketball 24/7. We appreciate
No,
that.
appreciate
Man.
you.
Appreciate
That.
that. Just I'm gonna run through these comments. Anakat Mahan, it's a faithful one on YouTube. Lakers look very undersized today. Why does AD look like he doesn't want to be on the court in some games? Trez and AD need to interchange the matchups if they are on the floor. Trez is too small to guard fives.
That's so right.
That's true.
Trez too small, Marc Gasol too slow, 80 too disinterested. That's an L all day, every day. If you got those people playing the five, and you just come up with bad matchups. The only hope that you had tonight was that AD at least got it going in the fourth quarter, and he didn't even do that.
That's true. Yeah, he didn't even do that. And once again, we just got to keep restating this. If he would have just did his normal thing, we still would have won this game. But it still doesn't take away from the fact that it's a glaring hole. We saw it before the season even started. We need another big man. I had this thought in my head when we first signed Trez. I was like, man, it would have been so good if we could have had Trez and Dwight off the bench.
Trez and Dwight.
Oh my god, that would have been insane to me. Like that to me would have been like,
if Dwight just wasn't so quick to post his Instagram that he was coming back, and he just held off for a few, maybe just one more hour, we might have been able to sign him to that extra minimum deal instead of having to keep somebody like Alfonso McKinney on the roster. But hey, it is what
here we
it
are.
is.
Here we are. Blazers are so much better with Covington and Jones. Lakers all day, dope on YouTube says, we need a big man. The Trailblazers wanted to win more. Absolutely. I think we've been saying that. Sports comedy rap. This is pretty simple. AD was sluggish and benched outscored 45-23. I think THT is still raw, but he does, and I don't think he finishes that. Oh, he does more than West at this point in his career. I'm not giving up on Wesley Matthews. I'm not giving up on my boy West. I think there's something there. I don't know what it's going to look like when he has his breakout. He is not. I've heard a lot of commentary about him being the new Danny Green. That's not the case. I think he's going to contribute. He doesn't know what yet.
When he decides to do something with his hair, he will. Watch. Just a funny little comment.
It's the braids, bro.
Doesn't mean anything. When he decides to do something with his hair instead of rocking that that floppy fro that he got, that doesn't stand up, that kind of slouches down. When you decide to do something with that, you might feel better, you might look better, you might play better as a result. So we'll see.
I'm telling you, man, all them boys when they were in the bubble had them braids going, dude. Quinn Cook, KCP. I almost expected Caruso to have some braids in a minute.
Quinn Cook did have braids.
He did. Oh man, woo! Listen to this. All black everything. Whoa, Roy Hibbert. Those be fighting words. Not Roy. Roy Hibbert. Comment posted. Ouch. 2013 Hibbert balled in playoffs for my Pacers. Then was horrid ever since.
Yes, he sure did. But what did he average? I swear to God, he averaged 13 points, 11 rebounds, and 6. Which is what AD put up tonight in 37 minutes. So,
but bro,
yeah.
But here's the difference. Well, I shouldn't say the difference, but Vogel believed in Roy, bro. Vogel was a believer in Roy.
Actually, I can't even say that he played like 2013 Roy Hibbert tonight, because at least Roy Hibbert played defense that
Oh,
year. AD
oh,
played no defense tonight.
oh.
I felt like AD
Well,
was getting scored on. AD hit the side of the backboard like Paul George on a jump hook. I know you saw that.
and he
I'm
was
not going
close
to
to the
gloss over
rim.
that.
And he was close
I'm
to
not
the
going to
rim.
gloss over that. You hit the side of the backboard too, dog.
Here it is. Y'all didn't open up the floodgates. Ariel says Chaz keeps it real. AD was too soft tonight, and I think a lot of it has to do with his mentality. Oof. Chris Camello, this is your boy saying this. Now, I'm getting ready to tell you something. I'm getting ready to read this comment, but I want to just make it very clear that his opinions do not reflect the thoughts, or the ideals of Showtime Forum. He says Wesley
no.
Matthews needs to start.
It's not happening because Kuz is clearly got the pecking order. So Kuz is definitely going to start before Wesley. And you know what? I thought when I saw Wesley Matthews come out on the floor tonight, I said, first thing, damn, when is he going to do something with that hair? Number two, damn, I really thought Wesley Matthews was going to start. I just knew it was going to be Matthews, KCP, Bron, AD, Gasol. And Wesley Matthews has fallen from a starter potentially to, I think he might be behind Keith in the rotation. Like, you got Trez the first man. You got Trez first man off the bench, or Kuz really. Kuz or Trez, it's like 1A, 1B first man off the bench.
Yep.
So that's 6 and 7.
And then
you got
Caruso and Keith.
And then Caruso and then Keith, and maybe even THT before Matthews. You know, like,
that's crazy.
He's fallen on the depth chart, and
he's almost in Dudley category.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as rotation.
Yeah, I mean, let's. I would, if I were Vogel, I'm kind of stumbling over my words because I can't believe literally what I'm about to say, but I would play Trez, Kuz, Caruso, Keith, and THT. That's 5 guys. No, not THT. I wouldn't play THT before. But, I mean, that's 9 guys that you would play in front of Wesley Matthews on this team. So
you're not crazy for saying it. You're not. Let me just say that you're not crazy for saying that.
Not right now. Not 4 games into the season.
And to be honest, had this just been like 1 game ago, that would have made complete sense. I think we're saying no to THT because tonight it kind of showed he wasn't really totally ready. But Ant-Man said, "What did Dwayne Dedman do to Chaz?" Listen, we don't know.
Nothing. He just doesn't fit the role I feel that we need for this team right now to get this year's chip.
Oh, people said that Harold sucks. That's only one person saying that. I don't think the reigning 6th man of the year sucks. I think that's kind of crazy to say. I think we're getting out of
here. He sucked tonight on the defensive end. I'll say that. You could say that. He would even say that himself. So.
Ariel said, Chris Camello is a fool for this. Wesley needs to get his bags packed come February trade deadline. He ain't going nowhere. Wes has 8 points in 60 minutes this year and is 0 of 8 from 3.
He hasn't hit 1 3 all year yet?
All year. He's only scored 8 points since the season started.
Hey, remember how bad KCP was to start the season?
God. You took the words out of my mouth, bro.
Like,
people forget.
Like, let's see. I mean, AD was laughing at KCP for that layup wedgie that he had early in the season. So we'll see. We'll see how it turns around for Wesley. But I think I hope he is this year's KCP.
I do.
From last year.
I'm telling you, I think there's going to be a moment where it all comes together for him. And when it does, and he doesn't have the benefit of what the last team had. I think that's one thing we also have to put in perspective. This team did not have the opportunity that the last team had. As soon as those players were signed, Braun called them boys to Vegas, and they had their mini camp before camp. None of that happened. The chemistry's still there, but you're talking about just understanding defensive concepts, discussing roles, and being like, this is what we need you to do and work on. That's not happening right now.
A month. By January 21st, the day that we play the Milwaukee Bucks, that's when I think we should be clicking. If we're not clicking by then and we still having the same conversations about AD sleepwalking and THT missing assignments and Trez being a bad matchup and this and that, we still having these conversations, then there's a level of concern that I'll have at that point. But until then, I ain't got no worries.
I ain't got no worries.
I ain't got no worries.
There it is. Listen, man. So here it is. We are getting ready. Airball and layups. KCP. West is trash. Bring back Danny Green. Oh, now I know y'all tripping. So we're good for the night, man. It was not the result that we wanted. We are expecting it. We are expecting a good turnaround. We're expecting AD to come back looking like AD should, showing up the way he should on what is today? Today's what? What is today? Monday?
It's Monday. 8, and just real talk, real quick.
Ooh.
AD just said, courtesy of Harrison Fagan, who was just on the Showtime Forum podcast last week. If you didn't see, catch up the full episode on iTunes or Spotify. New episode dropping this week with Ryan Ward, LA.
Holla.
AD said that he just needs to be more aggressive throughout the game. He said, my calf is feeling good. Anytime you take a game off, you don't want to force your way back into rhythm. I just want it to fit in, trying to make the right plays and right reads. In so many words, I played passive and it got us nothing. And I deserve everything that everybody says about me tonight. And I'm going to go out and light up the Spurs for the next 2 games. And I'll see you when I get back to LA. That's what he just said. So.
In so many words, man. And he's going to do it. And, I mean, at the end of the day, here's the brightest spot. We didn't lose by 51. With that being said, please go check out the Showtime Forum podcast. This is the way you want to end your 2020. The fire content that Chris Camello and Chaz Pearson have been putting out. It's not just the guests. It's the discussion with the guests. This is not normal stuff, man. This is good basketball talk. If nothing else, listen to it while you're working out, while you're sitting at home on the couch. Pop that thing on, man. Please tune into that. And then, of course, if you haven't subscribed to any of our platforms, please do. YouTube, we're on YouTube, guys. Please make sure you jump in on there. Twitch, Periscope, Instagram, and we're even on Facebook, believe it or not. For everybody above 50, you can hop on Facebook, and you can check us out there. But anything else you want to give them, Chaz? Anything we have to look forward to?
I'm looking forward to a winning streak. I think after this loss, the Lakers are going to go on their first winning streak of more than 3 games to start this season. So that's my bold prediction, trust the profit section, whatever it is you want to call it. We're going to win these next at least 3 games, maybe even more from there, because this one stings. Assuming guys don't roll their ankles again or get, tripped up or strained calves and stuff like that. So we'll see what happens.
There it is. You guys heard it. We'll see you guys again on Wednesday night. And, of course, please be safe, wear a mask, and make sure y'all, Paul, the excuse for yeah, and make sure that you guys do exactly what you need to do to stay safe with your families, man. So we'll check you on the next one. Remember, Mamba out, but not forgotten. We'll check you guys on the next one.
Don't catch the vid.
Don't catch the vid. That